Yes, Babu, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I see that.
Yeah.
First of all, you were hearing this very popular word last almost 7 to 8 years onwards. The way main the word we hearing in the IT industry, big data. Most of the people confusing that big data, what is that, and database or it's a application or it's application development or it is software or a tool. Big data is not a software, big data is not a database, big data is not a data warehouse, big data is not application development. Big data is just concept. The RDBMS, right? How you're treating that RDBMS, Manuela treats the RDBMS. The same thing we are treating is RDBMS, big data is a concept. You know that before going to discuss big data, what is the RDBMS? The RDBMS is that it's a SQL database which is supporting for a limited database. How much data? It is always limited database supporting that. Even if it is supporting that more than limited database, there is a hardware limitation. This RDBMS using for analysis, obviously. RDBMS concept technology, what? SQL technology. What is the purpose? Analysis. What data analyzing by RDBMS? Only structured data, isn't it? But here I am telling you, big data is a concept. I told you RDBMS is a concept. To solve that concept, we have a SQL technology. Here, big data is a concept. To solve this concept, what is there in the world? First, who is the solution for our big data? All right. Before understanding that, first you need to know what is the big data. The big data means what? Large data. 100% yes, it's large data. The client can give you data in the GBs, maybe you can give the data in terabytes, maybe you can give the petabytes, isn't it? You can give the petabytes or zettabytes, any size, whatever size data is given to you, that means it's a big data. Large data, obviously, we are calling big data. But to solve this big data concept, to solve this right big data analysis, we have a only one software that we are going to apply on the big data. That is, what is that? Hadoop. Hadoop is a software. Hadoop is analysis analytical tool to analyze the big data to get the required information. Hadoop is open source. Anybody can download it. Anybody can install this software to analyze the big data. So previously, SQL technology is there for to analyze the RDBMS concept, but big data concept, right? Big data, large data. If you want to analyze that, there is only one software in the world that is Hadoop software. So this Hadoop is a software. It is a framework. It is a analytical tool. So we are going to call Hadoop is a software, or you can call it is a framework. The Hadoop software going to apply on the big data, right? This Hadoop framework we are going to apply on the big data to get the what? To get the required information, guys. Am I right? You know that SQL, we are running the queries on that database, SQL database, select ID from table name. You are retrieving the data, right? Same thing. Here, Hadoop software going to apply on the big data to get the required information. That is a everyday regular duty of everyday regular responsibility of every Hadoop developer, every big data developer. They what is the doing? Analysis. So Hadoop software is using for only analysis, analytics the big data to get the required information, guys. Am I right? Only to get the required information. So Hadoop is a software to analyze the big data. So obviously, yes, I said previously RDBM is a concept to analyze the structured data, right? But you said big data is a large data. What is a large data means? What type of data? Hadoop can analyze any type of data. The client can give structured data, maybe. The client can give unstructured data, isn't it? The client can give you semi-structured data also. When the client given the structured data, that is obviously tables. When the client given the unstructured data, that is the logs data, isn't it? Unstructured data what? Logs data, binary data, isn't it? Even text files are also unstructured data, isn't it? Social network messages are unstructured data. Weblogs are unstructured data, isn't it? So whatever structured data client can give it in large size, and whatever client can give you unstructured data in large size, and whatever client can give the semi-structured data in large size. The semi-structured data means obviously XML data. Any format of the data in the world, we are going to see only three types of formats in the data, guys. One is structured format, one is unstructured format, one is semi-structured data. Any format can give it. We are going to apply the Hadoop software and the big data to get the required information. You know that SQL only for structured data, right? But Hadoop here what? Any file you can take it. The client can give it. The size of the file doesn't matter. Type of the file doesn't matter. Yes, guys. What my point? If you're raising any question, you can ask me directly. No worry about that. So,
It's okay.
big data is a concept to solve the big data. We have a software in the world, Hadoop software. Who given this Hadoop software?
Apache.
Apache. Yes, Apache given this software as open source. Anybody can download it. Anybody can install the software. So, in the world,
No.
till now, there is no specific competitor for the Hadoop software. Why? Because the reason is not only open source, Hadoop is a very effective solution provider to analyze the big data, to analyze the large data. And people asking the question, SQL analyzing empty database is 100%, no doubt about that. But Hadoop is that there is no nothing to compare with SQL with that versus the Hadoop software. Hadoop is analysis. Analyzing to Hadoop is a software, that's it. SQL is a database, isn't it? SQL is a database to analyze the data. But Hadoop is not a database. Hadoop is just software to analyze the big data. So this software given by, I told you, Apache given this software. So that's why we are calling that Apache Hadoop software. We are going to apply the Apache Hadoop software and big data to get the required information. That we're doing that. But what is inside Hadoop? I am saying that Hadoop is a software, Hadoop is not a database, but what is there inside Hadoop? Yes, I told you the point I mentioned here. Hadoop is a framework, isn't it? Obviously. Hadoop is a framework. Framework, nothing but it is not a single component, set of components. Or you can call Hadoop is ecosystem. It is nothing but set of components. Set of components. The first component, the distributing file system. The second component is MapReduce engine. Hadoop is a software, is a framework which has like all the components integrated in the software body. That in that component there is a two main components, HDFS and MapReduce. Obviously, when I am explaining the point, Venkat, I said, you told me you Hadoop software analyzing the big data. And you said big data is a large data, but Hadoop is a software, Hadoop is not a database. But where can you store the data? When the client given the large data, where you store the data? Hadoop isn't a database, I told you, Hadoop is not a database. Where are you going to store the data? So when you write that question, yes, to analyze the big data with using Hadoop software, we have an option. We need to prepare the file system, guys. How is it possible to analyze the big data with Hadoop software means we need to prepare the distributing file system that is called HDFS. This file system, we need to prepare it. Once prepared it, the client data, whatever given to you, will move all the data into the HDFS. This HDFS full form what? Hadoop distributed file system. HDFS stands, right? Hadoop distributed file system, which enables the organization to store the bulk volumes of the data. So Hadoop founder very clearly said that if you want to use Hadoop software, if you want to use Hadoop software to analyze the big data, the right first prepare the distributing file system. Then you'll move the all client data to the HDFS. Then we'll do the analysis. isn't it? So on the top of distributing file system, here Hadoop engine is there. That is the MapReduce engine. You know that every software is engine, right? SQL has own engine, .NET has own engine, Java has own engine, PHP has own engine, SAP has own engine. Every software is engine. So here also Hadoop engine is MapReduce, isn't it? This is executing the process on the distributing file system, guys. Got a point? This is executing the process on the distributing file system to retrieve the data. See that you can read this word, MapReduce word, MapReduce. See that how many words in the MapReduce? MapReduce. So what is the MapReduce engine for target always? To process, to execute the data from HDFS, to retrieve the data required information. It mapped the data and reduce the data. The both combination is a Hadoop, isn't it? So obviously, so the Hadoop is nothing but there is a two main components: data storage HDFS, data processing is the MapReduce. This is the main thing. Got a point? Hadoop is a framework which is using for big data analysis. In the framework, we have a set of components. Data storage HDFS is there. We need to prepare this HDFS to store the big data. And once you move the data to HDFS, then you will do the analysis. So who is executing the process? MapReduce engine. Got a point? So obviously here HDFS understands only MapReduce program, guys, isn't it? Imagine that according to the diagram, you see that distributing file system is the bottom and top of distributing file system MapReduce. MapReduce is always on top of HDFS. Distributing file system is bottom layer, guys. Remember, distributing file system is the bottom and top of distributing file system MapReduce. The both combinations are. So tell me every request if you want to interact the HDFS, the request going through the MapReduce first of all. Because HDFS understands MapReduce only, buddy. HDFS default language is a MapReduce program. Except MapReduce program, if you run anything on the MapReduce engine, everything will be converted to MapReduce program. Got a point? So here, distributing file system is always bottom layer. I told you just mentioned it is only to store your client data. Once the client gives the data, we'll move the data to the HDFS. So HDFS only for storage. To process the data from engine, from using MapReduce, it processes the data from HDFS. Isn't it? So obviously, if you run anything on this HDFS, the request going through the MapReduce, obviously everything will be converted to MapReduce program. So that means I'm telling you HDFS default language is MapReduce program. HDFS default language is MapReduce program. HDFS default language is MapReduce program. Got a point?
Yes, yeah.
Understood?
Yeah, understood.
So the distributing file system, how the people will prepare that? When the client given the large data to you, so HDFS preparation means what? We need a storage. We need to buy the machines. We need to buy the disk. That means, isn't it? We need to buy the storage from the infrastructure provider, and we'll prepare the distributing file system with a set of machines. Suppose you have a 4 laptops, you can prepare the 4 machines file system, right? If you have 10 laptops with you, you can prepare the 10 machines file system, right? Isn't it? So to prepare the distributing file system, we need to invest to prepare the HDFS. Hadoop is open source. Everything is open source. No authorization, no license, no payment. Only to buy, we only to invest to prepare the HDFS, buddy. Depends on the client database, right? It depends on the client database size. We will decide how many machines file system we need to prepare it. So that is the mainly thing. Here we need to invest only to prepare the HDFS to store the big data. Once you move the data to HDFS, we will process the data with the MapReduce engine. So MapReduce is always on top of HDFS. So everything is going through the MapReduce. If you run anything on the distributing file system, everything request going through the MapReduce. Why? Because HDFS understands only MapReduce program, isn't it? Okay. Here,
Yeah,
the distributing file system means I'm telling that this is a preparation by administrators, right, with the infrastructure providers, nothing but set of nodes. Production distributing file is nothing, it's single machine, it's a set of machine in the productions. Set of machines. If you ask me my present project HDFS size, 75 nodes for cluster, my HDFS size. 75 nodes cluster, each node size 3 terabyte. So because why 74 nodes? Because we are not analyzing the MB data, KB's data. We are analyzing the terabytes and petabytes of the files of the clients. So we need that much of machines to prepare the distributing file system, and we are doing analyzing the data. So we are running that on HDFS, right? Always MapReduce program, isn't it? If you run the people who knows query language, isn't it? They can run the query on HDFS. But when what happening, your query automatically query converted to MapReduce program at compilation time automatically because HDFS understand MapReduce. If you run the script going through the MapReduce, everything going through the MapReduce, buddy, because HDFS understand MapReduce. Got a point? So in this Hadoop framework, I mentioned you there is a two main components: HDFS, MapReduce. Remaining all components in Hadoop framework are all subcomponents. Remaining all subcomponents. I told you, isn't it? Data is going to store in HDFS, but how to pull the data from client source to HDFS? Yes, we have a scoop component. It's like a ETL. When the client given the database source to you, we can move the data client database to the HDFS using scoop, isn't it? Suppose your client given an MS SQL database to you to take the data to take the data to HDFS. Yes, using scoop will extract the data to HDFS. Extraction, transformation, loading to the HDFS. Scoop is only for importing, exporting the data, isn't it? So what from where to where? From client source to, if client given the source, that means any SQL database. Okay, remember, Scoop always importing the structured data from any SQL database to HDFS, isn't it? And vice versa. And Scoop will do export also, client HDFS to again to client database. What a point? It import, export the structured data. And next one, Flume. This is using to import the data from server to HDFS. Isn't it now? Flume is using to import the data from where? Server. Server generating what data? Logs data, unstructured data. If the client given the unstructured data, that means if the client given server, please use the Flume to pull the data to HDFS. If client given any SQL database, use scoop component to import the data, export the data. Isn't it, guys? You are importing the project beginning to the HDFS. Once analysis is done and your results will going to transfer to the client database again. Importing how much responsibility of developer and exporting also that much of responsible for developer, isn't it, guys? Understand? But Flume
Yeah,
is
Venkat.
only importing the data. Flume is only importing the data from server to HDFS. That means unstructured data is importing by Flume. Scoop is importing, exporting structured data, isn't it? See that when you run the scoop run it from the client source, the request passing through the via MapReduce only, because scoop convert because HDFS understand MapReduce. Even if from the Flume when you run it, it's going through the MapReduce because HDFS understand MapReduce, isn't it? Except MapReduce program, if you run anything on the HDFS, everything will be converted into MapReduce program because distributing file system understands only MapReduce program, isn't it, guys? Right?
Venkat,
Yeah, please.
is Scoop only for SQL or it's working with Oracle or only SQL?
But any SQL database, I told you, right?
Any SQL database.
SQL, Oracle, SQL, MySQL, 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 DB2, Sybase, isn't it? Any RDBMS database, isn't it?
Okay. Okay, Venkat. Thank you.
Got my point? And Flume is
Yeah, I got.
only from server data to the HDFS. The server data always generating the unstructured data. That is, I told you, logs data, isn't it?
Okay.
Okay, guys. Here I mentioned
Okay.
Hadoop is a mainly two framework components, HDFS MapReduce. Remaining all subcomponent, whatever you're running on this MapReduce, everything will be converted to MapReduce program at compilation time. What do I find? So data pulling using tools are Scoop and Flume. When you join the project, your responsibility will be starting with the working with the Scoop and Flume. Once HDFS prepared by administrator, we'll pull the data from client source to HDFS. If client given any SQL database, use Scoop. If client given the server, you can use Flume component to pull the data to the HDFS, isn't it? So these are Scoop and Flume are using to write the data to HDFS. But next analysis, here Apache, given that everything is open source, even analysis components also given by Apache. Yes, first people can analyze the data of HDFS file MapReduce program, isn't it? Who are good in the program, they can run the MapReduce program on HDFS to get the required information. And people who are good in the query language, that is a hive like SQL, you can run on the HDFS. But what happening at backend, your query converted into what? MapReduce program because HDFS understand MapReduce. And people who are good in the scripting language, that is a big component. This is a scripting language, guys. They can run the scripting language on the MapReduce on the HDFS. The request going through the MapReduce. Got it now? We'll get the required results. See that we have three options to analyze the data. People who are good in the query language, they will analyze the data with the query language. People who are good in the programming, they will run the program on the HDFS. And people who are good in the scripting language, they will run the pig script on the HDFS. Finally, whatever you selected for your project, buddy, as a team member, as a team leader, but when last day of the project, we need to meet the client required data. What the client asks that from his large data, we will analyze the data, we'll get the required data using this thing. So programming guy can run the MapReduce program, and query guys, they can run the iQuery and the HDFS file. See that when you run the iQuery backend MapReduce program, run it. Why? Because HDFS understand MapReduce only. If you run the pig script also backend, what I mean? MapReduce running that because HDFS understand MapReduce. Except MapReduce program, if you run anything on the distributed file system, everything will be converted to MapReduce program because HDFS understands only MapReduce program. See that Hadoop is a framework I told you, which is nothing but set of components. I told you there is two main components: HDFS, MapReduce. Remaining all are subcomponents: scope and flume. You know the purpose of scope, flume, and analysis. People who are good in the program, MapReduce program, query, and the scripting language pick. See that. See that now? Just now, Apache Hadoop has a set of components framework, isn't it? Everything is there. Analysis tools are there. Data pulling tools are there. Scoop flumes are there. Right? Hive is there. Pig is there. MapReduce is there for analysis. Isn't it? If you go to anywhere in the world, big data projects only two operations, buddy. Okay, write the data and read the data. Isn't it? If you want, first responsibility, what is write the data? I mean, you can pull the data from client source to the HDFS using scoop and flume, isn't it? If you want to analysis, that means reading here, isn't it? That is using MapReduce program or iQuery language or pig language. See that now. Understand now? Understand now, guys? Data ni how to pull the data to HDFS from the client source. We have a tools are there, open source. How to export that? The tool is there. How to analyze the HDFS data? We have a components are there. Hive is there, pig is there, and default language MapReduce program is there. What up, guys? So Hadoop is a framework, is
Yes.
nothing but set of component, which is all everything available here. Data analysis tools are there, data pulling tools also there, isn't it? Everything is there, but only to invest what I told you depends on the client database size, how much data is giving that. We need to invest to prepare the storage with a set of machines that is called HDFS. Got a point, guys? See that totally how many components I introduced you? Tell me. Tell me, guys, how many components I introduced you?
HDFS and MapReduce, two components.
Two comments. What are the, how many components I introduced, guys?
HDFS and MapReduce.
That's all. What, buddy?
So we have the main components to MapReduce and HDFS.
Hmm.
Hello.
Okay.
Yeah, subcomponents we have. Oh,
Hmm. What, Babu?
Yes.
Tell me, what are the components of Hadoop framework? What
We have four components.
Hadoop framework? Which I mentioned just 5 seconds back. I told you. What happened to you? Hello.
I think
What
four
are the
components are
components of the
there.
new Hadoop framework? What are the components of the
Yeah.
Hadoop framework?
We have
HDF.
four components.
Sorry. Hello.
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 Venkat.
Yes, tell me, guys. Anyone who can explain to me what are the components of Hadoop framework? Yeah.
MapReduce and HDFS are the two main components.
Okay.
Yeah, we have subcomponents like like map, what is the EVA, script,
Mapper.
scope, flume.
Scoop, flume, and hive pig, isn't it?
I pick, yeah,
Isn't it?
Yeah.
These are the all components. See that in this component, which are using to pull the data.
pull the data. We have used the scoop and flume.
Yeah, which are using for analysis.
It's a pig, EVA and MapReduce.
Sorry,
Pig EVA MapReduce for the read the data.
pig and
Hive and pig. Hive and
EVA
pig.
pig. One more thing, default language
MapReduce.
program.
Map.
Map
Three
reduce.
options, three things are there to analyze the data. You can select anything to
Yeah,
analyze your big data from HDFS, isn't it? So I'm telling you,
that's
correct
correct.
Yes.
point here. Write the data. We can use Kubeflow, and reading the data, MapReduce program, Hive query, and Pig's language. So these are the things are there.
Yeah,
So with all these components, I'm telling you one point. Using this Hadoop framework, so we'll do analysis only in offline. What I mentioned above, Piggu, Hive, Scoop, Flumo, right? All are using for only offline analysis, isn't it? Using Hadoop, we can do what type of analysis? Offline analysis. That means write the data once. Offline analysis means what means write the data once means write the data once and read the data many times. This is the slogan of Hadoop software, guys, isn't it? Once you move the file
yeah,
to HDFS, we will not update HDFS file. Remember, if you bring the client source to HDFS, once you put the files in HDFS, you can't update the file, you can't modify the file, you can't append the file content of HDFS. Only write the data once. Isn't it? Once you move at one time file to HDFS, you can't update it, we can't modify. If you don't, if you want, you can delete it, no problem. But we can't modify the existing file of HDFS. I'm telling you. That is the meaning of your offline analysis. That means write the data once. You can analyze the file of HDFS many times. The reading many times, isn't it? What a point, guys?
Yes.
All of understand my point?
yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously, what is the drawback here? Offline analysis means the drawback is there in HDFS file. We can't read randomly, and we can't read random writing also. We'll move the entire file data to the HDFS at a time. It is not possible to like insert the column values in SQL, right? Insert into table values, insert it. We done like this in SQL, but in Hadoop, it's not in HDFS.
Yeah,
It's not possible like that. We'll move the whole data to HDFS at a time, isn't it? And no random reading,
that's correct.
no random writing. That I'm telling you, isn't it? SQL database is there. That is the random writing is there and random reading is there. But here HDFS is not a database. HDFS is a file system. So the data is an offline. Distributing file system is working for offline. Okay, that means no random reading, no random writing. Isn't my point, guys? What is the meaning of random reading? What is the meaning of random reading, guys? In SQL, you run the query where the city called Bangalore in where class, it reads only city column, right? But same requirement run in HDFS, it will not read the only city column. The complete file will be scanning that. Understood now? So obviously, no random reading here and no random writing here. Understood now? What are the components I mentioned above in the screen here? All the components for working for offline analysis. So obviously, no random reading, no random writing. So if you get my point, guys, write the data
Yeah,
once,
Yes.
data many times. So the drawback of Hadoop here, actually this drawback is there up to 2009. 2009 ending, Apache given the one more subcomponent, that is HBase. So when Apache given the HBase, Apache said very proudly, Hadoop is not only offline analysis, it is using for online analysis also. Why? Because HBase is a whale AP component, online analysis processing tool, which is given by Apache. It is also component of the Hadoop framework, but before HBase, Hadoop is offline. But once HBase given by Apache, Apache said very proudly, Hadoop is not only offline, it is using for online analysis because the component we are using what? HBase. What a point?
yeah,
Why to point? Here, but when you using HBase is independent API. It is directly working with the top of HDFS. It is not using through the methods. Remember, HBase, it is directly working with the top of HDFS, isn't it? But HBase is not working with through the MapReduce. Except HBase, everything is going through the MapReduce, right? But HBase is not like that. HBase is independent API, isn't it? Which is using for online analysis, which is directly working with HDFS. It is not taking any conversion from MapReduce. Remember. Understand my point, guys? So
yeah.
Hypo, Piggo, MapReduce, Scoop, Flume are offline analysis, offline working, and HBase is using for online analysis, and HBase directly working with the HDFS. It is not using through the backend MapReduce. Isn't it, guys? All of you?
Yeah.
Yes.
I understand. Yeah,
Okay. So now Apache is saying that very proudly. Hadoop is not only offline, it will do online analysis also. Online analysis means we can use HBase. Offline analysis means right MapReduce program Hive Pig.
Okay.
Okay, guys.
Yeah.
Either point. Hadoop framework,
Understood.
set of components, HDFS. In this framework, what is the two main components? I told you HDFS plus MapReduce is required to
HDFS
build
and
the
map.
two main components. Here, without HDFS, we will not do anything. Without MapReduce, we will not do anything. Both are need to work together, guys. Always. Distributing files to
Yeah.
MapReduce need to work together always. Without HDFS, we will not do anything. Without MapReduce, we will not do anything. Remaining thing all subcomponents, isn't it? Hive, pig, scope, flume, HBase. All
Yes.
the subcomponents, right? See that now. How many components here? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. So these
7.
seven components, which are neat, which are the important, which are the regular responsibility of Hadoop developers in the project. The developer need to know how to use with the, how to work with the Hive, how to work with the pig, how to work with the scoop and flume and HBase. Isn't it dumb? So in this framework, there is a two main component always HDFS MapReduce. Got it now? Everything through the MapReduce except HBase. If you run anything on the HDFS, everything is while executing MapReduce engine backend except HBase. Got my point? Why?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
HBase is an online analysis which is directly working with the HDFS. It is not using through the MapReduce. Is that my point? All of you understand my point?
Yeah.
So now I'm telling you the point. Using Hadoop, we can analyze the data in offline. We can analyze the data in online. So I'm mentioning heading when the your project team decided for the offline analysis for your client big data, we'll use what? Hive, Pig, and MapReduce program. These are using for offline analysis. And online analysis, we will use HBase.
Yes.
Got a point? So Hive, Pig, MapReduce program for offline analysis, and online analysis we are using HBase. Got a point? So anywhere in the world, big data analysis happening, big data projects running, maybe the team is doing the analysis, analyzing the big data, maybe offline, maybe not online. Got one point? Understood now?
Yeah.
So obviously, did you
Understand it.
understand what is the offline analysis and what is the online analysis? Did you understand difference between the offline analysis? Obviously, offline analysis, no random reading and no random writing. Obviously, when you work with online analysis, it is obviously random reading and random writing. Understand my point, guys? If you work
Yeah.
with
Yes.
HBase, you can write the data into HDFS randomly. You can read the data HDFS data randomly. Isn't it? Why? Because HBase engine defined by founder like that, but Hive, Piggu, MapReduce are completely for offline analysis. Isn't it now? Understand now?
Yeah.
Definitely, when
Understood.
you go for interview, they'll ask you what type of analysis you've done it. So you should explain that offline analysis you've done or online analysis you've done it. Yes, if you done offline analysis, mention to the interviewer. Yes, we use high queries and big and MapReduce program for offline analysis, and we use HBase for our online analysis. Got a point? They will ask you what is the difference between the offline and online. Offline analysis, obviously, no random reading and no random writing. Online analysis, we can write the data randomly, we can read the data randomly, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect, guys. Understand now? So, as a beginner,
Yeah.
you guys, Hadoop software, you feel Hadoop is just software. Don't feel Hadoop is a database. I told you what is a database. So, Hadoop is analyzing for big data. Obviously, people, when they understand, okay, Hadoop is using for big data analysis, oh, all the big data storing in Hadoop. No, that is wrong. So, we are going to prepare distributing file system. This is the main component of the framework. So, we need to prepare this file system with a set of machines. See that I'll show you the distributing file system diagrammatically. See that now distributing file system will be like this. See that machines are there. Node 1, node 2, node 1, node 2, and so on. See that. The distributing file system physically we will not see maybe when you work in the production. It is in the cloud, isn't it? Nowadays, most of the people, if they want the storage, they are buying the services through the internet, I mean through the cloud, isn't it? Suppose you have got the big data project for some client, your company has no capability to prepare the GDFS. In case, obviously, we are going to depend on the cloud services from the Amazon like this, isn't it? So they will give the
Yeah.
access service through the cloud. See that here, you can see the nodes, the distributing file system always in the nodes inside the racks, isn't it? Nodes arranging in the racks inside the cluster, isn't it now? The distributing file system is not preparing with one machine in the production gati, but it's a set of machines, isn't it? That means machine nothing but node or disk, isn't it, guys? Hadoop is using for analyzing the big data in disk analysis, guys. So yeah, disk means what? Nodes. What a point? I told you already, my
Yeah.
present project, my HDFS size 75 nodes cluster. Yes, obviously, distributing for 75 node cluster. That means we are analyzing very large data. We are analyzing almost 150 terabytes of the client data we are analyzing at the moment in my current project. So HDFS is important. How big data analysis is possible with Hadoop software? The reason we are preparing HDFS. The data is not storing the single machine, it is distributing. See that HDFS full form Hadoop distributed file system. The data is distributing to the all the machines. That's why data processing, analyzing the data from the disk processing from the HDFS will be very fast, isn't it now? So if you want
Yeah.
to do big data analysis for any of your client, compulsory we need to invest to prepare the HDFS or remaining all open sources. Software is open source, so obviously we should invest to prepare the HDFS. Got it down? Understand now? I already told you. In case you suppose you with you in your home you have 3 laptops. Each laptop have 1 terabyte hard disk is there. Yes, you can prepare the 3 nodes file system, right? Isn't it? Understand now? If you have 10 laptops with you, you can prepare the 10 nodes file system, isn't it? What of mine?
Yeah.
Yes, guys. Node means it's a machine, guys. Simple operating system. Yes. Each node size may be 1 terabyte, maybe 2 terabyte, depends on that our choice. Isn't it? Node size maybe 50 GB, maybe 70 GB. One node size maybe 1 terabyte, maybe 2 terabyte, or 4 terabytes, isn't it? So the big data analysis, how is it possible with Hadoop software? The reason I can tell you the point, yes, we are using now distributing file system. You know the Facebook.com is there. Facebook.com running very fastly. Why? Because they are using distributing file system, right? Facebook application, they are maintaining the 80,000 nodes file system, isn't it? 80,000 nodes file system they're maintaining the to store the worldwide Facebook users data, isn't it? When you open the
Yeah.
facebook.com, you're entering username password within the fraction of seconds, you're getting the Facebook homepage. Why? Because they are using the HDFS, isn't it? Their backend data stored in where? In distributing file system, right? Flipkart.com using 2000 nodes cluster. eBay.com using to store all the product data, they are using 4000 node cluster, 4000 nodes file system, isn't it? So to analyze the large data in offline or online, the main heart of the big data project, we need to prepare the HDFS. What about guys? So this is only
Yeah.
for storage purpose. That's it. HDFS only for storage, but data is not storing to a single node. It distributing, isn't it? Data is distributing. That is the main thing. And distributing the data to different nodes with the replication. Remember, Hadoop is very popular. One of the reason data availability is there. That means data. That means data availability is there. The reason we are using replication. Whatever data you are putting to HDFS, data will be replicated to the different machines, isn't it? Yes. You know that what is the replication, right? What is the replication, guys?
It's a copy of the data.
Exactly. Defaultly, this HDFS default replication, three. Three times three copies will be storing to different machine. In case one machine is a fail, another copy will be safe in another machine. That is the one of the very important feature of the Hadoops, right? Data availability. Why? Because replication is a fundamental of the any big data analysis in the world. Without replication, there is no big data analysis in the world. Got a point? So when the client
Yeah.
giving that story, when the client told you database size of his how much data is going to give it, we need to calculate the number of nodes, not only to store the actual storage, we need to calculate with the replication also, isn't it? Got a point?
Yes. Correct.
So distributing file system is not only to store the actual data, with the replication is storing to different nodes. That is a point, isn't it? Got a point? So we don't know that way in which node has which file data is there. Yes, here all you see in the racks are the nodes, all the slaves. To manage all these slaves, there is a one master machine will be there, isn't it? Remember, what are the nodes inside the racks you see in the screen, right? All these are slaves. To manage all these slaves, there is a one master machine is there. Got it now? That master machine maintain the every slave information. The master machine we are calling, you're also calling as a meta node, isn't it? I told you, right? My present project 75 nodes file system. I told you 75 nodes. I included master node also. Remember, 74 are slaves and one machine is a
Seven.
master. How many slaves doesn't matter, but master is always only one per the cluster, isn't it, guys? Understand now?
Okay. Yeah. That's
So
Yes.
here distributing file system is important. On top of distributing file system, Hadoop software, that is MapReduce engine. Got it now? So obviously, to process the data from the nodes, who's executing, MapReduce engine is there. That is processing the data from nodes. MapReduce engine always communicate with the name node of a communicate with the master machine of the HDFS. For analyzing any file of HDFS, MapReduce always communication with the first with the master node of the HDFS. Got a point? Understood now? Why it communicates to the master node? Because master node knows in which node which data is there, isn't it? So that's why MapReduce need to communicate with always master node of the HDFS. What up, guys? So always imagine that this Hadoop software, the distributing file system is the bottom, on top of distributing file system, MapReduce. Understood now, guys?
Yeah.
Yes, Babu, understanding? Understanding?
Yeah.
Any questions, Babu?
Yes, I understand.
Yeah. So anywhere in the world, in nowadays, whatever big data projects happening, the mainly HDFS. If you met any of your friends or your colleagues or relatives, suppose in case they're working in Hadoop, so Hadoop project, right, big data project, simply ask the question, what is our distributing file system size? Isn't it? Got it now? If they're doing big data, definitely they prepared file system. Definitely they will tell you answer. Yes, we are working with the 40 node cluster. We are working with the 10 nodes cluster. We are working with the 1000 nodes cluster. So they will say that simply. Yes. Got a point? Whatever client giving the data, we can put the any data, guys. Here HDFS to store the specific data. I am not telling like that. The distributing file system which I am showing the screen, it is can store any file. You can put logs file here, or you can put the table file here. You can put the binary file here. You can put the JSON file here. You can put the text files here. No problem. You can put the web logs here. No problem. HDFS enables you to store the any size of the file, any format of the file. You can move into the HDFS from any source. Got a point?
Yes,
Understand
Yeah.
now? So that's the reason
understand.
first to write the data to HDFS, then reading every big data analysis. First starting with the to pull the data from client source to HDFS, and as well as next reading analysis. Got a point? So here Hadoop
Yeah.
developer main duties of big data analysis: write the data, read the data. I mean scoop flume using for write the data, analysis MapReduce program Hive Piggu or using for analysis. In offline, you can use that MapReduce I1 pick. In online, we can use HBase analysis. Using HBase, we'll do online analysis. Got a point, guys? Understand
Yes.
now? So distributing file system, see that I will show you one more diagram. See that? Can you tell me my distributing file system here? How many data centers are there here?
Data center one,
Two.
two data centers. Yeah.
Each data centers. Your first data center, how many racks?
4 racks.
4 racks.
First data center, 4 racks. Second one,
2 racks.
2 racks.
Yeah, two
Yeah.
racks.
Can you tell me each rack how many nodes can fit?
Is 8 nodes.
8.
8 nodes can fit. People ask no question.
Yeah.
Each row, each rack, how many nets can fit it? Depends on that. If you go to library, in one rack maybe 1000
Okay.
books are there, in one rack maybe 100 books are there. Depends on the rack configuration, isn't it? Here also,
Yeah.
distributing
Yeah.
file, the nodes will be arranging in the racks. I don't bother how many racks, I don't care. But my file system, I need to know how many number of nodes of the file system. I need to know that. The nodes arranging in the racks. So in library, in the real-time example, library inside racks are there, racks inside books are there. But your target is going to take a book, isn't it? Also, your data
Yeah.
storing the nodes, but nodes arranging in the
Yes.
rack and racks arranging the data centers, and data centers are inside the cluster. What do I want?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To prepare HDFS, we need to invest it to buy the infrastructure, cluster, racks, data center, nodes. The node is nothing but storage. Who is providing this much of
Yeah.
infrastructure? There is a number one infrastructure provider in the cloud, Amazon, AWS. isn't it? They will cost you based on usage of your storage. Example, you are using power in your home, right? You didn't buy the power plant. You subscribe with the power meter, right? And you're paying the bill every month, isn't it?
Yeah.
Based on usage, you're paying the bill. Same thing. If you order the services from any cloud computing providers, they will give the infrastructure to you. They will prepare in their data center. They will give the access to your machine with the IP address, isn't it? With the network. Got a point, guys?
Yeah.
That's now.
Yeah.
So this file system only for
I understand.
that's it. So to process the HDFS file data, we have a on top of HDFS we have a MapReduce engine, isn't it? Hadoop founder given the software that is a MapReduce API, map the data of the all the nodes data and it reduce the data. Reduced data is the required information, isn't it? And people ask the question,
Yes.
Venkat, input is in HDFS? Yes, output also stored in HDFS. Suppose my file name is Rama. I analyze Rama file. I got the output data that is Lakshmana given. Yes, Lakshmana also stored in where? HDFS only, isn't it? Input is in HDFS. After analyzing input, output also stored in where? HDFS. Got a point? That's
Yeah, I
now.
understand.
The output
Yeah.
file we need to export to the client database. If the client need a report, we'll send to the client database. Isn't it? Every Friday evening, before leaving to my home, my team will send all the output files from HDFS to client database. Monday to Friday, whatever we done analysis, whatever required data we got it, the required output files will send to the client location. What up, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You imported large data to HDFS, you analyze the data, and you should export the required data to the client database. That's your responsibility, isn't it? From HDFS to client database. Understood now, guys? Understood, guys?
Yeah.
I hope you understood now what is the use of scoop export now. Yes, you are exporting the data from HDFS to client database, your client required files, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's now.
I understand.
So analysis
Yeah.
you doing Monday to Friday, you're doing in project analyzing the big data from HDFS, and Friday evening we'll send the all output files which I have in HDFS, we'll send to the client database, isn't it? So
Yeah.
I mentioned here previously when I explained here beginning here, see that. So we are applying the Hadoop sort on the big data. We got the required information. The required information will transfer the client database, and client database will connect to the maybe business intelligence, and business intelligence will make what?
Reports.
But Hadoop is not a reporting tool. Hadoop is just to get the required information. As Hadoop developer, your responsibility completed, isn't it? Your
Yeah.
responsibility completed here. You got the
Yeah.
required information, right? Your target is completed, isn't it? But the BA
Yes.
team who knows BA, who knows Cognos and MSBA, TableU, and these guys will make a reports. But Hadoop is not a reporting tool, guys. Hadoop is just analysis, analytical tool to get the required information. Okay.
Yeah.
So end of the project, what the client wanted, the required information the client can use for report purpose. 90% of the big data analysis, the client why need big data analysis? The reason maybe he need a report. Got it now?
Yeah.
So guys, so
Yeah. I
our
understand.
report
Yeah.
files will send to the client database, and client database will connect to the any business intelligence tool, and BA team will they'll make reports. Got a point, guys?
Yes.
Yeah. Understand.
Now, so this is the regular duty of every Hadoop developer running Scoop or running Flume, running MapReduce program, running Hive queries, running Pig, running HBase. Got it now? And exporting the data. That's why I told you very easy. The point I told you anywhere in the world, big data analysis only two operations I mentioned very clearly: write the data, read the data.
Yeah.
Yes, you're working as a senior developer or a senior big data developer or a senior Hadoop developer. Your duty is to take the data to HDFS, to read the data of HDFS, and again export the data to the client database. Got a point?
Okay.
That's
Yes.
now.
Understand.
So
Yeah.
in this Hadoop framework, we need to know all these seven components hands-on perfectly. Then only you will be as a Hadoop developer, isn't it? What are the mention here? Seven components here very clearly. See that MatchDFS, MapReduce, Scoopo, Flumo, HBase. All the developer components should know that. See that to manage all these components, there is a zookeeper. This is a hardware component. Administrator must know this about this component. You see that Hadoop is elephant, Hive is honeybee, pig is animal, pig is pig, right? Hive is honeybee, Hadoop. Here, every component has a elephant logos are there. I mean, treating every component, we are treating as every component is animals. To manage all these animals, we have a hardware component. What is that? Zookeeper. Understood, guys?
Venkat, Venkat,
To manage all this Hadoop framework component, we have a zookeeper. Understood, guys?
yeah, understood.
Yeah.
Venkat, I have one question.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, HBase, yeah, it's not working with MapReduce. Then how we will read the data from the HBase?
HBase has a own API. That I told you, right?
Yeah.
Except here, Hive,
Oh,
Scoop, Flume, all dependent API on MapReduce, but HBase is not a dependent API. It's an independent API.
okay.
Roman,
What type of language you using in HBase? Like a
sorry,
query?
query
What
language.
type of language
Yes, query language. Yes,
is
it's like query language, but
SQL?
it's not like SQL. So HBase has own query language.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Okay. Okay, it's clear, Venkat. Thank you.
right? So Zookeeper is the communication management of the all the components. To manage all these animals, we have a Zookeeper. Management of all the components, isn't it? Here, the developer want to schedule the requirement. If you want to schedule that any Hive or Pig or MapReduce or Scoop, you will use Uzi. Uzi what? For scheduling. Isn't it now? When you are working with the Hive or Pig or Scoop, you can schedule and you can run it. Using, how can you schedule it? Using Uzi. And I mentioned Zookeeper. It is the management of the all components of the Hadoop framework. Isn't it?
Yes.
What a point, guys. So Hadoop
Yeah.
is not a single setup, is a framework. That means all these components inside framework. So when you know all this, Zookeeper you don't need to learn. It's a complete depth of administrator. Okay, it's core responsibility of Hadoop administrator. But remaining all these things should know by Hadoop developer. Then only you will be exit as a Hadoop developer in industries. Isn't it now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Know that suppose if you join any company as a Hadoop developer, first 2 months, 1 month, the time will take to prepare HDFS. Mainly, the administrator responsibility will be very busy in the first 3 months of the project because to preparing HDFS, to monitoring HDFS, to installation, to configure that, all is core responsibility by Hadoop administrator. The person who has the networking knowledge, that guy can play as a Hadoop administrator, isn't it? And administrator,
Yeah.
very less recruitment. Example, my team 12 members, 11 members developers, one person is a administrator, isn't it? What a point.
Oh.
The hardware
Yeah.
management, configuration, monitoring, installation, these things to by administrator. Remaining all developer, running Scoop, running Flume, running Hive, running Pig, running HBase, all these responsibility by developer. What a point, guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is a Hadoop component, Hadoop framework, which is using for big data analysis. Any questions?
No, Venkat. Yeah, I understand very well.
So, so we need to start to work with this component. First, we need to start work with the HDFS. The complete, it will take 3 classes to understand depth about HDFS. After discussing this one, MapReduce. It will take 1 day or 2 days MapReduce. This is the main thing. Then we will discuss the common, how it's both are working together. See the interview, we will ask you, explain the HDFS architecture means explain HDFS only, guys. Explain the MapReduce means explain MapReduce. But explain the Hadoop architecture means what? The combination of HDFS map.
HDFS.
DFS and
Obviously,
MapReduce.
when HDFS MapReduce is working together, then only write operation or read operation will be completed. HDFS need MapReduce need HDFS, isn't it? That's I told you very
Yeah.
clearly. HDFS plus MapReduce equal to do. Remaining all subcomponent. Why? Because remaining everything is going through the MapReduce, isn't it?
Yeah. Correct.
Point? That is the thing point here.
Yeah.
So our subject to understand Hadoop architecture, that is HDFS MapReduce. Isn't it? Here Hadoop engines are two versions are there. MapReduce version 1, MapReduce version 2. Yeah. So HDFS can either work with the MRV MapReduce version 1, either can work with the MapReduce version 2 yarn. Isn't it, guys? So we have a
Yeah.
Yeah.
software engine, old engine is there. Nowadays most of the industry is using MapReduce version 2 yarn. on top of HDFS. Understand, guys?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right?
understand.
So I am telling very clearly again, Malli, right? HDFS plus MapReduce version 1 is equal to Hadoop 1. Okay. Now,
Okay.
at the moment, last 1 year onwards, most of the projects running with the latest engine, MRV2 yarn. This is called Hadoop 2. Any architecture we can work with this architecture, no problem. You can work with this architecture, no problem. Any architecture you use for your big analysis, finally we need to get the required data, isn't it? What do you point, guys?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right. We'll discuss what is the difference of MapReduce version 1 and MapReduce version 2. Obviously, there is a reason to migrate to MR2N because some issues in this architecture, isn't it? Some drawbacks in this architecture. There is a reason to work. Most of the industries working with this architecture, isn't it, guys?
Yeah.
Very clearly, understand now.
Understand.
So,
Understand.
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
using that, our target always end of the project to make a reports, but Hadoop is not making report. Hadoop is only to get the required information. The required information. Suppose example, yesterday I analyzed 1 TB file in my office. We got the 20 GB required file, required data, isn't it? 1 TB we analyzed it, we got the 20 GB required data. That we are export to the client database. And the client database to the business intelligence, and BA team will make a reports if the client want it. Isn't it?
Yeah.
That's now? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Understand.
Every industry need analysis, guys. Retail industry, Walmart, isn't it? Big Bazaar, banking, insurance, finance, healthcare. Every domain industry they need analysis, analyticals on their large data to get the required data, isn't it? Using Hadoop software, what is the benefit to the industries? Reducing cost, reducing time. That is the main advantage, isn't it? Got it
Yeah.
now? Before Hadoop, to analyze the large data, SQL will take a lot of cost, a lot of time, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's why
Yeah.
Hadoop is a very popular. The reason to analyze the big data is not a simple point. It is a large data analyzing by whatever size, doesn't matter. Hadoop, there is no limitation to analyze the big data for Hadoop. So using Hadoop software, there is no limitation. Whatever size of the file doesn't matter, and any format also doesn't matter, isn't it? But SQL always running on the table, right? Isn't it? SQL is analyzing only structured
Yeah.
data. But Hadoop, any file, any format of the file. The dimension is structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured data, any format of the data. You always think Hadoop software analysis analytical tool. It is not using for web application. Remember, application designing now. It's just analysis analyticals on the big data. That means on the top of HDFS. Got a point, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Venkat, one question, Venkat. If we do the analysis on that 1 TB data, we got the 20 GB data, yeah, required data.
Yes.
Then where will we store the 20 GB data, in the HDFS or we straight away to the client machine?
Input is in HDFS. After analyzing input, output also stored in HDFS. So immediately that output file is export from HDFS to client database.
Okay.
Isn't it?
Again, we store the same way like the nodes, yeah, in the HDFS output also.
Everything is whatever storing HDFS, everything is storing same like the input how we store it. HDFS output also storing in this nodes only, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we'll not maintain the constant output files. We'll export to client database. Once client approves the output file, I'll delete from HDFS, isn't it?
Oh,
When you export it, you
yeah,
want
understand.
copy paste, not cut paste, isn't it? So once client approves that,
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll delete from HDFS. We need a space, right? That's it.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, good.
What do you point?
Yeah, understood. Okay. Thank you.
So this is the complete introduction of the Hadoop framework. So tomorrow we'll prepare the installation completed tomorrow. After that, our target to discuss the first component of the Hadoop framework, that is HDFS. So once understand this all learning theory, then we'll do hands-on. Same like that. Once understand the MapReduce theory, then hands-on, isn't it? After that, Hadoop
Yeah.
architecture. After that, the scoop component will understand theory, then hands-on. Then Flume, hands-on. Then MapReduce program, high queries, big HBase, OG, all these hands-on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every day, what are the class I'm telling, teaching you on the same day before coming to class, revise it and come to class. Then only you guys will be in the flow of this subject, isn't it? If you don't read the class notes and if you come to the next class, right, you can't ask any doubts, isn't it? Got a point. If you started after completion of training, it's a burden for you. That's why everyday class, same day, revise the notes and come to class. Then only you can ask many doubts. When you ask more doubts, I'll be very active. You'll be very active. You can get more subject, isn't it? That I'm telling you. Okay, guys.
Okay.
Right. So see you tomorrow. Right. Okay. 7:30 tomorrow.
Okay, Venkat.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, Venkat. Thank you.
Yes. చెప్పండి.
వెంకట్ బాగా అర్థమైంది.
Okay. See you tomorrow. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.